Hello everyone, this is Peak Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have another video for you, and this will be a review of the Season 9 premiere of The Flash. Now there will be spoilers throughout for the episode and potentially ones for all previous seasons of the show, so just beware, and you can check out my coverage of the series within the channel, and I'll leave some links to reviews within the description. So as most people will know, but just in case there's anybody who doesn't know, Season 9 would indeed be the final season of the long-running superhero show that began way back in 2014 as part of the hugely connected run of superhero DC shows known as the Arrowverse. Now following the Discovery takeover of Warner Brothers, CEO David Zaslav set about an initiative to cancel out scripted TV that wasn't deemed successful or profitable enough, and as a result, this saw the majority of the Arrowverse series coming to an end, with the likes of Batwoman, Legends of Tomorrow, Stargirl and Naomi. With being the highest viewed show of the Arrowverse for many years, The Flash managed to survive long enough to merit a reduced season of around 13 episodes. Now in terms of recapping of what happened on the previous season, we saw Barry once again battling it out against Thawne, a negative force version of himself. Iris is cured of the time sickness that she suffered for most of the season, and we saw hints that Killer Frost will be resuscitated after Barry and Iris prepare one day for the re-emergence of the negative forces. So did this opener give signs of us getting an epic conclusion to the long-running series? Well, to be honest, it was a bit of a scattershot episode, covering familiar beats that we've seen all far too often within previous seasons. The main plot surrounded Barry and Iris being caught up in a Groundhog Day time loop, seeing potential pathways of their future destinies. Barry was looking at promotion within the CCPD. Iris was considering a major merger with Catco, the media corporation that we know from Supergirl. We see the Flash coming across one of his famous villains in Captain Boomerang and saving the day, and we also learn that Iris is expecting a baby. So we had a lot of jumping back and forth as expected, a lot of fancy colours and sparky effects, and very much of a bright, breezy tone about it, which was fine, and in many ways this was harking back to certainly the earlier seasons of the series. But I think it also highlighted the main problems of the show itself, is that there was no real interesting or compelling beats to the overall story. It was just a lot of chaotic stuff really happening on screen without being too immersive or really substantial. Maybe it will have some context towards the end of the season, because we were showing very much Barry and Iris having fun adventures together. So will we get a far more explosive, maybe even tragic outcome towards the end of the year? We will wait and see overall. The only real other revelations was that Joe suggesting to Cecile that they should leave Central City. Now for anybody who doesn't know, the actor who plays Joe, Jesse L. Martin, has joined another series, so he'll have very low appearances within this season. And this is really something that we got used to already, because in previous seasons he had spent a lot of time away due to incurring several injuries. And the only other revelation here is that we saw what seemed like a newer version of Caitlin when Barry arrived at her apartment, and we see her turning around with blue streaks in her hair. So what this means going forward for this version and also Caitlin and Killer Frost, we'll wait and see overall. Again, not really too interesting in my opinion, and we've covered this with other characters such as Harrison Wells, where we have multiple versions of the same character. It seems always that they try to do this where they feel they can't really take a single character any further, so they try to maintain interest by creating multiple versions of that personality. And then we got the kind of end credit stinger where we saw a shadowy speedster like figure all in red lightning running towards the screen, hinting very much of the emergence of what it looks like will be the main season villain, and that is Red Death. Now for anybody who doesn't know, the Red Death is a variant of Batman and the Flash being fused together within a future timeline, with Batman taking over the powers and being corrupted by them and going around killing many of his rogue villains. Now it was confirmed some while ago that the series adaptation of this character will see the return of Javicia Leslie's Batwoman, obviously taking on the Batman role, as we all know that Warner Brothers will never allow Batman within any format concerning television. And if you go online, you can certainly see behind the scenes photos of Javicia in the far more bulkier, like Red Death costume it seems. Now to be honest, I'm not really convinced by this setup. Obviously as a real low grade replacement for Batman, we all assume that it will be a variant of Ryan Wilder, not the one that exists within the current timeline. If you were a fan of Batwoman, you would know that she was still very much confirmed in the role as the Caped Crusader. So trying to explain how the current version fuses together with Barry would probably take too much of the limited episodes. So I assume this will be a variant character from an alternate universe with very dark intentions, she gets into some sort of battle with Barry, and then they end up fusing their powers together. Now, whether this will consume the entire season or be part of a small arc, as what we've really seen, certainly for the last 3 seasons, I would say, where we saw the likes of the Blood Work and the McCulloch arc, where we had basically smaller story arcs of around 5 to 6 episodes concerning villains, and I think this was probably better than what we'd seen previously when one villain was dominating the whole season and it was making the whole series really drag, especially when we look at the likes of season 5 with the Cicada arc. Now, this Red Death storyline may be one way to include many actors within the Arrowverse playing alternate versions of their characters. We've seen this done plenty of times throughout the entire Arrowverse, and we saw it most recently, of course, in the Armageddon crossover from the 8th season. Now, it's also been confirmed that the Legends of Tomorrow will be making some sort of appearance in the season. Now, originally, showrunner Eric Wallace had planned for them to appear in at least 2 episodes to wrap up the own story within their own show, but he had to change after only getting a reduced order of 13 episodes. We also know that Stephen Amell will be reprising his role as Arrow. Again, some heavy exposition is going to be needed, considering what happened to him at the end of the Crisis event. And I'm sure we'll see the recurrence of other series favourites such as Cisco and Harrison Wells, played both by Tom Cavanagh and Carlos Valdez for many years. So having all of these cameos from other Arrowverse shows in many ways makes sense, and I think to a certain extent is right, given that so many of these shows were cancelled without getting their final seasons. So I think it will please fans just to see their favourite characters one more time. It does raise the concern as to whether all of these appearances will take away from the Flash's own story. Will the show get caught up again in all of the crazy timelines and time loops and jumps and alternate and parallel universes and lose focus and cohesion as a result? Perhaps a lot of the Arrowverse fans won't care, as this is very much the last chance they will get to see their favourite characters on the big screen. But I do hope overall that whatever happens, it still manages to devote enough time to really wrap up the story of Barry Allen alongside Iris and Joe and Cisco, and also Caitlin as well. Really the OG group of characters before we saw the expansion of other supporting roles with the likes of Chester and Allegra as well. So overall, in terms of this episode, I was kind of mixed, indifferent. It wasn't terrible, it wasn't awful, but not really presenting anything much in terms of real substantial material to get me super hyped for this overall final season. But who knows, as we progress furthermore, hopefully we can get far more intensity and certainly far more spectacle, especially when we come into the Red Death story arc. And of course, it was very likely that we will see once again the appearance of Professor Thawne as well. So hopefully they can provide a conclusion for the show, which is now coming to over 172 episodes. But in terms of this opener so far, not really impressed, but just hopeful that we get far more exciting stuff later on down the line. So there's my overall thoughts and feelings and review of the first episode of the 9th season of The Flash. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think this was a good start? Are you super hyped for the series? And how many cameos do you think we'll get from the other Arrowverse characters to provide a satisfactory end to their own story alongside Barry's as well? Let me know what you think in the comments, and as usual, when the show does come to its end, I will provide both a finale and season overall review of the show, and maybe later on down the line do some added commentary on the Arrowverse itself and the impact it certainly had within fandom and mainstream entertainment. So look out for all of that great content in the future. And if you have any other suggestions regarding any television or movies or any other topics within the entertainment industry that you'd like to see me cover, then also let me know in the comments, and I will see if I can provide further commentary for you on those topics within the future. Please also hit and like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you very, very soon.